here's what I know so far, which is that members of Congress were briefed yesterday that a war is coming, and it'll be announced in the address to the nation tonight at 9 o'clock by the president.
Tucker Carlson went out on Judge Napolitano's show and said that a member of Congress had contacted him stating that Trump was going to announce possibly war on Venezuela during his 9 p.m. Eastern time address last night. He said, I don't know if that's going to happen. Anything could happen, but take a listen, and we are going to break down what I think is really going on.
I'm going to start a war in Venezuela.
I don't know. I don't know when this program airs, the one that we're on right now. This thing's maybe live.
We're live now, and then
okay.
It'll be posted immediately. So now,
my sense is, I don't know the answer. I've certainly been on the phone a lot about it. I have no power. I'm a podcaster, but I'm very interested. And so here's what I know so far, which is that members of Congress were briefed yesterday that a war is coming, and it'll be announced in the address to the nation tonight at 9 o'clock by the president. Who knows, by the way, if that will actually happen? I don't know. And I never want to overstate what I know, which is pretty limited in general. But a member of Congress told me that this morning.
So that's interesting. Obviously, Trump did not announce war on Venezuela last night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. But, you know, Trump's speech was really a nothing burger. Really didn't say anything interesting. They announced $1,776 tax-free checks, stimulus checks, essentially, to military service members. Okay. His speech was really a nothing burger, though. I mean, $1,700 checks to U.S. service members. They could have come up with that in 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and said, we're not going to do the war on Venezuela thing. We need to come up with something. Marco, Jared, we need to come up with something. What about $1,700 checks for the military? It's Christmas time. Everyone will love that. Good idea. All right, let's go out. Added to the teleprompter. That speech was bullshit. You cannot make me believe that he went out saying like, oh, we're going to have this grand speech, and he didn't say anything. I mean, it's just the State of the Union repackaged and updated in like a 10-minute version, consolidated version. He didn't say anything. Now, what did happen yesterday? Well, we had several things. First of all, we know for a fact that the United States decided to place an embargo, sanctions on Venezuela's tankers, oil tankers. So President Trump announced a total blockade on all sanctioned oil tankers entering or leaving Venezuela. That's a pretty big deal. Okay, that's a big deal for Cuba because Cuba gets all of their oil from Venezuela. That's a big deal because now, as a result of there being sanctions on Venezuela's oil tankers, we are talking about Venezuelan Navy doing patrols with the oil tankers and directing them throughout the Caribbean to try and protect them from any sort of U.S. attacks, anything like that, or seizure from the U.S. military, from the Coast Guard. So that's a big deal. Also, this whole thing, the shadow fleet tankers that Russia, India, China are utilizing are now in operation in Venezuela. Venezuela is now using Russian shadow fleet vessels, okay? So that is a big deal. It brings a lot more into the picture. After Tucker went out and gave this statement discussing the fact that he had heard that there may be a declaration of war on Venezuela, a few things happened in Washington, D.C. First of all, we had the U.S. Congress, which took a war powers resolution vote, and it failed. The resolution failed by a few votes. I think it was like 213 to 219. So if Congress didn't believe that a war with Venezuela was about to take place, why, and a bunch of Congress members had not been briefed on this, why do you think they would have done something like that? Why do you think all these Congress people would have, stopped what they were doing throughout the day to go down to the Capitol and vote on this? I mean, if there was no belief that a war was going to be declared that night, I don't think that this would have happened that day. Now, And I don't think it's just because Tucker said that, right? As he mentioned, several members of Congress were allegedly briefed on this, that announcement was going to be made. The other interesting thing was Marco Rubio, after Tucker made this statement, was photographed in the Oval Office for an extended period of time, nervously pacing around the Oval Office for I think it was like an hour, 2 hours, something like that. So why was Marco Rubio there? Well, Marco Rubio is the chief proponent of the war in Venezuela. So clearly there was, I think, deliberations ongoing as to whether or not they would stick to their guns and announce in Iraqi fashion that they were going to begin a war on Venezuela that night at 9 p.m. The timing for the announcement made a whole lot of sense if it was to announce a war on Venezuela. And I don't just mean the time of day, but also I do mean the time of day, because if you've noticed, most of Trump's official statements, big speeches before the nation he has to give, they usually take place 1 to 3 p.m. And I know that for a fact because I've been following it very closely ever since there was the threat of a war being declared on Venezuela. I know this because it is usually when I stream. So every time we stream, I come out and I look and I'm like, oh no, he's saying a bunch of bullshit. Well, last night he gave a speech at 9 p.m., which would make sense because Venezuela is on the same time zone as the East Coast of the United States. 9 p.m. announcement. Hours later, maybe 1 hour, 2 hours later, they begin the airstrikes, okay, and operations. So that made sense. What else adds up here? Maria Corina Machado has just picked up her Nobel Peace Prize. So, they got that squared away. She had her whole propaganda victory, got the Nobel Peace Prize, made up the fake story about fleeing Venezuela. So that adds up. There's other things as well. I was thinking about everything last night. In fact, I called my friends who were in Venezuela, and I'll just say that they are people in very high positions and people in the know. As many of you know, I've interviewed President Maduro. I've spent time in Venezuela on 2 separate occasions, extended periods of time. And let me just say that it was not just the statement coming from Tucker on Judge Napolitano's show, that they were expecting something to take place last night more than usual. Every night, every day, there's, preparation, there's defenses, there are plans that are being put in place. There is a motion each and every day to defending the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Last night, there was heightened concern, and it wasn't just Tucker's statement. Now, you have all of this. You have even more that's ongoing right now. The other big thing, of course, is the Citgo lawsuit, which wrapped up. One of the courts ruled, I think it was like November 25th or something, they ruled for the liquidation of Citgo another time, because this has happened several times and it keeps getting appealed and dragged on. But Citgo lawsuit, which we can discuss more later, was in effect, it was made somewhat final November 25th. So you have all these things that are lining up with the launch of this war. You have the timing of the speech. You have all this stuff. I'll just say that I would not be surprised if Trump did actually have the intention to launch a war on Venezuela. In fact, I have it on good authority that either he did plan to do that and plans change, whether it was because of Tucker or something else. I don't know. No one knows, except for the people who are intricately involved. Or they're just simply very good at lying. And the question would be, to what end? Because Maduro has been very clear that he's, according to even the Washington Post, he's made these offers as to what he would offer the U.S., what sort of deals he'd offer. Okay, all right. I mean, he's not going to let them come in and just steal all the assets, steal all the oil, steal all of the resources, the minerals. But, deals can be made. All right. If 13 months ago a deal was deemed inappropriate for the Venezuelan state, but they were kind of considering the deal with company X, Y, or Z and country A, B, or C, maybe now they'd relook at that deal and say, this deal actually was kind of fair. We were just playing hardball. So let's go back to that. I don't know what the deals they are that they're discussing here, but I know that they're open to the idea of more U.S. enterprise doing business in Venezuela so long as it's fair and good faith. So he's made the offers. He said he's not leaving. The Venezuelans are defending themselves. They have Russian, these ghost ships or whatever they're called, the ghost tankers, shadow fleet tankers. They are importing Chinese and Russian defense capabilities, maybe even Wagner in Venezuela, if we're being honest. And, well, you have to ask the question, at this point, what more could be achieved with gunboat diplomacy? What more could be made with these fake out threats that lead to nothing? I don't know. I really don't know. Either I think they're just going to keep this in a perpetual state of pressure on Venezuela, which, you know, okay, that is a tactic. Perpetual state of pressure. Sanction the oil tankers, make the Venezuelan Navy escort all the tankers, use shadow fleets, which are expensive and are going to cost money, a lot of extra money, basically cut off all international investment in Venezuela. I mean, you could see how that could be a strategy here, and it avoids the risk of all-out war on Venezuela. But then why would members of Congress be briefed on this? It doesn't make sense. What, they're faking out members of Congress just for the hell of it? That doesn't make any sense. So I would not be surprised if we see this happen. I'll tell you that much. And, well, that's the information I have for you regarding that story. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.